Belarus is gorgeous. It has a quaint postcard countryside. Its capital city has some of the best street artworks. It has the biggest forest in all of Europe, overflowing with wildlife and oak trees that are over 600 years old. It's pretty hard to find rubbish on Belarusian streets. Belarusians love their sports. People gorge on potatoes. Chocolate candies, glazed cranberry and glazed curd bars are everyday desserts. But it's not all fun and games for the Belarusians. Their politics is exceedingly dirty. The incumbent president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, has been in the top chair since 20th July in 1994. He is considered a dictator by almost everybody except himself. Russia has been controlling the state since forever, but China wants a piece of it too. And hence Belarus becomes a place where China and Russia, who are regarded as friends by the Western media and enemies by us, becomes a major flashpoint in their relationship. And yet another development in Belarus proves that we may have cracked the code. Hi and welcome. This is TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Atul Mishra. In this video, I will tell you how a small development in Belarus signals that all is not well between Russia and China. Let's begin. The stereotypical narrative spun is that of Russia and China being brothers in arms. Well, they are not. In fact, Russian President Vladimir Putin is playing a mighty game with China. In the short term, he is using China as an export market, but is also working towards expanding Russia's influence around the world. As a matter of fact, a trade war is ongoing between China and Russia, and now tensions between the two Asian giants have spilled over to Belarus. Belarus is fast becoming the center of geopolitical muscle flexing by the Russia-led bloc on one side and the US-led European Union on the other. China finds itself getting ground in Belarus, and Russia is making sure Beijing suffers great pain. If Russia is to start a Soviet Union reunification, Belarus would be the first country it puts into its basket. Now, many think of Belarus and Alexander Lukashenko as allies of Russia. So they are. However, Lukashenko and Vladimir Putin do not exactly have a very rosy relationship. In fact, they have a rocky past. Belarus was rocked by massive street protests last year, which Russia instigated. Why did Moscow instigate protests against Alexander Lukashenko? Because the Belarusian leader had grown very close to China and was allowing the communist nation to walk all over his country. Belarus becoming a Chinese client state or even a country which is heavily indebted to Beijing would be a nightmare for Moscow. So Putin instigated anti-Lukashenko protests in Belarus and then helped the Belarusian leader get rid of them as well. In the process, he turned Alexander Lukashenko into a pro-Moscow leader and made him dissociate from China. In 2015, during Xi Jinping's visit to Belarus, the Chinese Development Bank agreed to provide Minsk with a $1.4 billion credit guaranteed by the Belarusian government. Between 2000 and 2014, Minsk received more than $7.6 billion of Chinese financial support in the form of aid and loans. So China was having a field day in Belarus. It was debt-trapping the country. Then Vladimir Putin happened. And now China has stopped transferring loans to Belarus and is also sacrificing a project which is vital for its own potash supplies, but which is located in Belarus. China has not paid yet another tranche of credit amounting to $103 million for the construction of the $2 billion Slavkeli potash mining and processing plant in Lyuban, Belarus. The project has been stalled since June, and now even subcontractors have begun leaving the construction site, dashing the hopes of an imminent revival. The Slavkeli project is owned by the Russian oligarch Mikhail Gutseriev, and this might be one of the reasons why China has stopped funding the project. According to data from the PRC Customs Office, in 2020, Belarus sent 1.38 million tons of potassium chloride to China, which is 16% of total Chinese potassium chloride imports. China is currently reeling under a shortage of potash fertilizers, yet it seems to have stopped payments for the potash plant in Belarus. Needless to say, Beijing is very irked. Western and Belarusian media have reported that China is afraid of Western sanctions, and that is why it is not going ahead with the loans. Western media has just been reading the lines, not between them. The reality is that China wanted to debt trap Belarus as a whole and turn it against Russia. That endeavor having failed due to Russian President Vladimir Putin's intervention. China now has no interest to fund a potash factory in Belarus. Now that Minsk has fallen back in Moscow's lap, Beijing is not willing to spend a single penny on it. This underlines the massive fault lines between Russia and China. These two countries are not allies, they are not friends, they are enemies. Russia is all too aware of China's devilish designs to eat into its exclusive sphere of influence. And China, having faced successive defeats, setbacks and humiliations, is now falling back.